This will unlock the Montreal Canadiens. With all the talk about free agency and the NHL draft this season, there is one specific thing, the depth of the prospect pool, that will make the Montreal Canadiens even more terrifying than we realize, having cheap players that can come into the lineup and produce at an NHL level. There is no team in the NHL as well prepared for that as the Montreal Canadiens. We have to dive into this incredible outlook for the future, but it's not just that, Jesse. We also have to talk maybe a bit about Laine Hutson and also about the Hockey News top 100 player list, and there are some absolutely massive, I don't even want to say snubs. They made the list. They're way lower than we should be. We got to talk about all that on this episode of Habs Digest. And Jesse, we're going to start with the Hockey News list. Now, this comes from the Physical magazine, but if you want to see where the Habs players are ranked, I'll link the article down below where you can see it. But here are the rankings. The only 3 Habs to be in the top 100. Jesse, I'm hot about this. Look, I'm gonna throw this to you first. I got my own rant. Look, Nick Suzuki 61st, Caufield 66th, Laine Hutson 100th. Before we dive into this, do you have any hot takes about this? Because I'm gonna say them in a minute. I am not happy.
I hear you. I'm just happy that it's not just Carey Price representing us on these top 100 best of the NHL. It's not just him having to do it all alone. I know for so many years, Carey, it's not the problem anymore. But really, like we see with our boy Zooks, like, obviously you'd love to have him a little bit higher on the list there. That being said, I feel like he is just getting at kind of into his prime right now. We're seeing 90 plus points next year for Nick Suzuki. He is going to top what he did this year in terms of getting those 89 points. I believe he's just going to continue to really kind of rise up that list. Like our boy Caufield, like there's so many bright things, right? We got a 90 plus player, I feel, in the making with Suzuki. Who knows if he can maybe get to that 100 point mark? Like Josh, that would be nuts, but like Nick Suzuki can do it. Cole Caufield is 37 goals. You have to feel like he's going to be in the running for the Rocket Richard with Ovechkin, maybe kind of retiring, kind of year in, year out. He's only 24 right now, really starting to get his prime. So that's going to be interesting. If he can kind of stay with some of the top goal scorers in the NHL every single year, we're talking about having that constant playoff success. Like how exciting, how dynamic was Cole Caufield this year? Yeah. I love that he's getting his respect. Like all of our players, we feel are a little bit lower. But I'm glad that at least he's getting some respect on this list. And our boy Laine Hutson, there's some stats being put out recently that like compared to what he's done, like the players that Laine Hutson is more comparable to is Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar, but they're both being older, right? So it's absolutely nuts. Like it'd be hard to imagine like a Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes in the rookie season, maybe, being not ranked, as low as Hutson is here, considering that the production is very much the same. But like we know our boy Laine, like he's going to continue to rise up this chart. Like we're going to maybe talk about this a little bit more in the future. But like Josh, like there is a world where Laine Hutson is passing Nick Suzuki and Caufield on this list in the very near future.
Yeah, I think he very well could. But I think all 3 of these guys should have passed people ahead of them. Like I just want to put this in perspective again. Nick Suzuki was 13th in the NHL in scoring. And like, I know that's not the be-all end-all here, and that's not to mean he should be ranked 13, because there's goalies too, there's defensemen that have impact beyond scoring. But the fact that he's not even like a top 50 player, you could argue this guy's like a top 25, 30 player. 61 to me is just insane. I don't know. Yeah. I don't have the Physical magazine to see like some names that are ahead of him, but my goodness, 61st is one of the craziest things I have ever seen. Not to mention Laine Hutson, Jesse, 66 points, making history in his rookie season. You mean to tell me that there are 99 players in the NHL better than Hutson? I know his defense, the advanced metrics are not that crazy, but like at the same time, look, at least we got 3 people on the list. Like you said, that I take solace in that. That's great. And Caufield, I think he's maybe closest to the most reasonable rank here. But the fact that Suzuki and Caufield are so close to each other, even in my mind, Jesse, Suzuki is like, he's a much better player than Caufield. That's no slight to Caufield. It's just Suzuki is an 89-point player this past season on a team with a big negative goal differential. He was a positive, 12. He was like 6th in centers in scoring, and he helped push this team to the playoffs almost single-handedly. I don't know. I feel like they should have been higher, but we got to hear what you guys have to say about this. I'm hot about this. I'm happy we got some representation more than years past. And you know what, Jesse? You're right. They're just going to keep making their mark in the future. But look, speaking of the future, oh boy. Right now, Montreal is set up. Would you agree, Jesse, that we're set up maybe better than any other team? There's some other teams that are pretty close, but I'd say we're near the top, yeah?
Oh, we definitely are.
Right, absolutely. So when we're talking about the Habs, and we're near the top, one of the biggest things for us moving forward is going to be the depth of our prospect pool, because to unlock the true potential of this roster, we need to get these guys to be NHL level producers. Montreal has so many guys that project as depth NHL talent. We have our stars in Reinbacher, who will hopefully develop into a star, Ivan Demidov, Laine, Hutson. We already have Suzuki, Caufield, Slaf. We have these young players, Guhle, who are like high end. But not every dynasty type team is built just only on stars. You need those guys to fill in the depth on cheaper deals, especially coming up when they're young. And Jesse, what team is better prepped than Montreal? Joshua Waugh, Owen Beck, Logan Mailloux. Not to mention the myriad of names here that you can go look at. Reinbacher, Adam Engstrom looks to project to be great. Florian Xhekaj, bottom six. Sean Farrell is lighting it up in the playoffs right now with 4 points in 4 games for Laval after having a great season. We still got guys like Michael Hage coming up. Quentin Miller, a sneaky good goalie prospect. Yevgeny Volokin. Atos Koivu, who we don't hear a lot of talk about. To me, Jesse, to truly unlock the Habs' potential, these guys are the key to it. To have these depth guys coming in, getting that scoring. Say again, you take a swing on a free agent, their contract expires, or maybe you make a trade for someone, and you can fill that void with someone on a cheaper deal. That's what championship teams are made of, Jesse. And looking at the organization of this team, this makes me more excited than maybe even our stars, as crazy as that is to say.
Well, like in rugby, like we like to say there's certain players that like carry the piano and there's other players that play it. And our depth guys are going to be the ones that allow us to have that success year over year to kind of put us in that position to get in the playoffs. And then your star guys are really the guys that take you over the top in those situations. And when we're talking about having that consistent success, definitely having the affordability of a lot of entry-level contracts where that these are going to be people that can come into the NHL, be serviceable players, is going to be so huge in terms of having that financial flexibility, considering how many star players, like a core of about 5 that looks like we're going to be having some long-term deals with. Like that's where that matters so much. That being said, it's like you can't just really have a team of just kind of young guys. Like this will need to balance out, and there will need to be trades to be done at the same time. But you could really see now where even some of your players in your top 6, like Suzuki and Cole, they're kind of being the vets, where it's okay to bring in those young guys because now your younger guys are becoming those vet players. So I really just love to see kind of the shape of this organization that it's really taking right now, and the structure, again, to have that success where we can keep feeding these players. There is no other team in the NHL that has the quality and the quantity of prospects that now the Montreal Canadiens have. Like before, the quantity was through the roof. Nobody could compare with them, like very NHL projectable type players. But now with that quality, with Demidov, with Hutson, with Reinbacher, that can really take this over the top, really is such a big difference maker in all of this. And why they want to keep some of those kind of seats open for those young guys as well to develop them, knowing how important they really are to this team's overall success.
Absolutely. Like so many of these guys, not to mention, Jesse, the amount of draft picks we have in the coming years. Because again, we're probably going to make some kind of trade or signing for a player that can fill into this roster right now. But even look to this year, right? Look to this year. This team was hunting for the playoffs, and who came in and played a bunch of games near the end of the season on a very cheap deal? None other than, wait, where is it? Oliver Kapanen on his $925,000 contract. Guess what? He's on that for the next 2 years. And we got to talk about a guy like Emil Heineman as well. He's an RFA this offseason, $900,000. And when he played, he was very conducive to the Habs' success. This is kind of what I'm talking about. These guys who are young, who can come in, jump in the lineup, and just make an impact at that lower cap hit. Because again, once you start getting big names, your players start getting these big extensions, managing that cap space underneath them is very important for success. And we have the best system in the NHL for that right now. And I mean, Jesse, just one maybe final thought here. When we're looking at this list, like, which of these guys like doesn't even project to be eventually, maybe at least, like a bottom 6 level NHL talent? I'm talking Florian Xhekaj. He would be like such an ideal bottom 6 level player. Joshua Waugh, if he can put that skill together, I mean, he's shown flashes of being a very skilled winger. But again, on this deep Habs team, third line winger would be perfect. Owen Beck, another guy who could easily project as a bottom 6 center. Adam Engstrom could be a middle pairing defenseman. So, like, when you look at these guys, I just feel like already, Jesse, even in the next 2 to 3 years, Montreal can almost afford to take some risks with the cap because of how many guys that, not even that might get there, that kind of already are.
Well, that's just the thing. Like, we have so many guys on this list that have spent time in the NHL. We're looking at guys like Beck, Kapanen, Heineman. Like, these aren't just like small. Like, Heineman was a huge part of the identity of this team on the forecheck, coming in and being huge difference makers, just kind of all around. I would obviously both Jack guys for me are like core depth guys. You know, we sometimes think of like depth is like not being important. Like it is so important, but when you can get that right, that depth, but also feel like you kind of are still having kind of like an overall sort of like vibe for your team and kind of something that you're sticking to. I think it's so important with all this. Like Guhle, I would even put into like borderline depth, but like when we're talking about having like a depth guy like Guhle, then you just know how overall like what kind of depth you have in that organization.
It's honestly crazy. Again, the top end talent matches with the depth, and like if you could build like a prospect pool out to have that high of the high, like even your guys who are 20, if you say 25 and younger core, Suzuki, Caufield, Slafkovsky, Demidov, oh my gosh, okay, that's your top. And then you got that middle guys like, oh, whether it's a War, whoever's like even on the team like right now, again, Kirby, Dach, Alex, Newhook, that kind of middle six type of guy. Go to the defense, Cayden, Guhle, David Reinbacher, even a guy like Adam Engstrom coming up. Goalies, Jakub and Sam Montembeault's good, but then Jacob Fowler. So many guys that just fill in almost this hierarchy very perfectly. But listen, we could talk about this for ages. Let us know what you think about this, because to me, when you look at the successful teams all time, yeah, you can go out and get your big players, but it's those guys that outperform their contracts that really put you over the top, and that's what Montreal is primed to do. But let us know your thoughts on all that down below, because that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. So close to 21,000. Thank you all for tuning in every single day. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.